welcome back, Helldivers. I had only planned to make like a news video once per week on this game. However, things seem to drop every single day. And so today I wanted to cover some new footage of vehicles in the game, another new stratagem which drops in NPCs for you. I wanted to clarify how liberation works because there's been a lot of sort of backlash and outrage for people farming missions and abandoning missions and specifically operations, and how that might negatively impact our war against automatons or determinids. And there has been clarification on their Discord and their Reddit, and there's a really cool website I can show you that makes it a lot easier to understand. So I want to clarify that. And also the CEO just goes on these like Twitter sprees and answers questions and drops information. We've got hidden weapon stats, armor penetration values. We've got a whole bunch more information on what the game master can and cannot do. So let's get into it. Spoilers first. I guess if you don't want to see footage of stuff in the game, you want to wait for it to officially be in there. There will be some spoilers. You can use the timestamps down below to skip ahead. I'll label everything if you don't want to see it. Otherwise, I'm about to show you some footage of the vehicles. This comes from Rebs Gaming over on Twitter. Apologies for the quality, you know, what Twitter's like. You'll notice if you're riding shotgun in the passenger seat, it seems like you have to have your one-handed weapon out. So that's pretty cool. So you can pop out the window to shoot. Someone's in the turret, like a warthog on the back. I'm assuming this will be a stratagem. You call in a vehicle. Once again, we don't really know how this stuff's ending up in the game. People are just capturing footage because other people are in the game and they just seem to be able to drop mechs and vehicles. If you haven't seen the mech footage, just watch my last video. I'll link it down below and you can have a look at the mechs too. That is some absolute atrocious video quality. Now, also from Rebs Gaming, we've got some NPCs getting dropped in too. Oh, and actually here, we've got some mech footage at the beginning as well. I'll play it all for you. This almost looks like, someone said this looks like the video you would get on your ship, like promoting the stratagem of the mechs. And then this is the NPCs getting dropped in. Obviously the NPCs are a little bit undercooked so far, might need a little bit more development, and they look like they're, oh, okay, they've got machine guns, interesting. I mean, one of the back has a machine gun, the ones at the front don't. Cool. That's going to be so funny. They're going to be like dropping in baits. Like, hey, eat these Helldivers before eating me. Right, so that's a vehicle footage. Now let's talk about liberation and the clarification for liberation and how the points and percentages work for losing planets. So I went through Discord, their Discord server. Misty is part of the community and support team. And someone was asking about how liberation works, and if you abandon a mission operation, does that make the enemy bar go up? She said, hey, I got a Reddit post here I've clarified for you. And so we head over to Reddit, and here's Missy's response here. I can confirm that abandoning operation does not progress the enemy's percentage, so people who leave operations do not negatively affect a planet. Unfortunately, Evil Bossy got it wrong, but we all make mistakes. So then you're going, okay, well, how does the enemy's progression bar work when it comes to defense and liberation? So this is helldivers.io, and you can check how the war is going without logging onto the game and see where we're winning and losing on each planet. And this website also gives the math behind how liberation works. And the way it describes it is each planet has an internal max HP. When attacking, the planet has 1 million. When defending, this varies from 600,000 to 2 million. Each planet regens HP per second, ranging from 2.8 HP per second on bot planets to 20 HP per second on bug planets. The Game Master can change these values at any time. Note, defense campaign doesn't regen HP, it's purely timer based. Each operation a Helldiver completes deals damage to the planet. Does abandoning an operation negatively impact the percentage? No, it does not. Okay, so it's another way to think about it is the enemy forces, when they're attacking, it's technically them regenerating health points, hit points for the planet. It's going back up. So if everyone stops playing the game, that planet will actually get taken over. Its health comes back, which is technically the enemy retaking control. When you complete an operation, you do damage to the planet and it goes down. So inactivity is what will lose the war. You log off, you stop playing, people aren't on a certain planet, it will slowly regen. When the big populations, the big servers get off and they go to bed for the night or whatever during the workday, they're gonna take territory. So technically, if people abandon a operation, it doesn't directly give points to the enemy, but their inactivity, like not getting a point and not damaging the planet, will affect the war. And remember that an operation is multiple missions. So for example, when you get to the Helldive difficulty, there are 3 missions per operation. And some missions are much easier to farm for XP and materials, so people would farm those missions and then abandon them to find a similar easy mission, and that would fail the operation. They wouldn't directly give points to the enemy, but they also wouldn't progress the war in our favor because they weren't completing the operation. So indirectly being traitorous and undemocratic. Right, now for some juicy information from the CEO over on Twitter. Just goes on these sprees and replies to people and tweets about stuff in the game that we have no idea about. So let's go through what has happened the last couple of days. In regards to Helldivers 2 weapon stats, so many of you use the 4 stats we show as comparison. While each gun has maybe 50 stats in total, the numbers are a guideline but does not paint a complete picture. Use the one that you like most. This was an earlier version of it. It had a single page that showed the actual ammo stats, as the ammunition is what defines most of the weapon stats. So in this image, we can see fire rate, capacity, recoil, ergonomics, reload time, fire modes, magazines, muzzle velocity, and also recoil simulation, so the recoil spread as well. He would go on to explain some of the stats, saying ergonomics is a stat that defines how sluggish the gun is and how quickly you can ADS. Someone also asked about armor penetration, the armor pen value, and he said this: armor pen is a value between 0 and 10. If the armor pen is equal to the enemy's armor value, the damage is 50%. If the armor penetration beats the armor, you do 100% damage. If the armor pen is less than the armor value, the bullet ricochets. I don't know what the light AP condition is. I think it might be if armor pen is 2 or less, but honestly, I don't know either. And the question was that some weapons say that they have light armor penetration and they ricochet, and others say they have light armor penetration and they actually go through. The good example is what I've spoken about before with the revolver. The revolver says it has light armor pen, but it seems to go through more armor than an SMG. There's obviously values for light armor pen on individual weapons, so I'm imagining that the revolver actually has a higher armor pen value, and I actually imagine it is tied to the kind of bullet, because in a previous tweet they said that the type of bullet actually impacts a lot of the stats of the weapon. And obviously this is all hidden from us, so you just got to kind of use them and work out what feels right for you. Now, this might get me a little bit of hate here because a lot of responses to this were things like, why are you hiding the stats? Please show the stats. I'd love to see the stats. And the CEO said, yeah, in retrospect, it might have been a bad call. It was deemed too complex for players. So personally, and if you guys don't know, I've come off the back of a 10-year relationship with Destiny, making 10 years of content for Destiny, and now we're here making Helldivers and enjoying video games again. And I know a lot of people like stats. Hey, as a content creator, I like looking at all the stats and making videos about them. In fact, I've already done that already with testing explosive trait and what that does. But I think the downside of giving all the behind the scenes data to gamers is it really enforces a meta, and then degenerates like me then go make videos saying this is the best gun, and if you don't use this gun, you're throwing. And we're kind of already getting that with Helldivers already, because people feel like certain guns completely and utterly outperform everything else. And yeah, they kind of do, but I also think there are some hidden stuff going on that we need to have a look at, and I would rather them change some of these hidden values at the back and people keep exploring and using different weapons and realize that they have different use cases for them. Right, he also tweeted a bunch of information about the Game Master abilities, because like my last video, I covered the PC Gamer article, and then he went on to do a bunch of follow-up questions. So here's a whole bunch of follow-ups about what the Game Master can do. If you're not aware, Joel is the game master, a person at Arrowhead who can control what's happening in the game, specifically around the sort of galactic war and liberation quests and stuff like that. So let me just read this to you. As a follow-up on Game Master abilities, the majority of the role is to choose which major order takes place, what daily is active, and decide where the enemies attack. The war fought and liberation of planets, that's all you. We can also reinforce planets if needed and give temporary equipment to the entire community and other stuff we haven't revealed yet. So still stuff they haven't spoken about that can happen. But there is an important point here about giving equipment to the entire community. And he would go on to say, Joel, the game master, can't give specific things to individual games. It's more of an entire community thing. It's more holistic. It's a community-wide, and we don't have the ability to affect individual games. And that's what they were meaning when they talked about the giving a stratagem to everyone, where the incendiary mines showed up, and everybody can use that stratagem. It was just part of their kit as they went in. So that's what they're talking about. They're not going to be able to. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought they could drop in specific enemies or even these vehicles and these mechs to like just individual games, and that that was part of what the game master was doing. I still think the mech footage and the vehicles could be maybe devs doing that, but it's not necessarily the game master's role, or maybe it actually is cheaters and hackers. But in general, it's more of a holistic community impact on the galactic war is what they're sort of playing around with. Okay, we still have some more news to go, including Steam dupes. Watch out if you're trying to purchase Helldivers on Steam. There are some people pretending to be Helldivers and they are not. So this is a tweet with the CEO trying to get Steam's attention to have them removed. He also clarified a little bit about explosive damage. This was the YouTube short I made about explosive damage, which doesn't seem to be quite right because I did not find that explosive trait did 100% damage. Rather, it did 37% more damage, but that's okay. And someone asked about frag grenades, if they count as explosive damage. Once again, this is like a hidden stat, really. And he replied with, I think they're all in between, since most of the frag damage is actually shrapnel damage, while the HE is fully explosive. So that's interesting, because that means that, you know, using fully explosive, the high explosive grenades should do a lot more damage on squishy parts of the bugs. Now this kind of relates to what kicked off this whole discussion about weapon stats and hidden weapon stats and using what you just like, because someone said there's more pressing issues. You know, obviously there are some really outperforming weapons. The SMG, the Breaker, and the Starter Assault Rifle seems really good, and everything else seems pretty dog shit. And he responded with, we are looking at data and doing a balance patch. You'd be surprised to learn that while the Breaker scores more kills, it is not overrepresented in missions that end in success. And finally, a bit of information on the roadmap. They responded to someone saying, exactly the plan, went through the updated roadmap today. Some pretty cool stuff in there. So hopefully we'll see a new roadmap pretty soon. I imagine it's going to have vehicles, it's going to have mechs, and anything else, any other surprises that we should be awaiting in Helldivers. And there you have it, some more Helldivers news. I promise I'll get rid of this undemocratic hair very shortly. If you'd like to support the channel and you cannot think of a comment, you can leave the word Helldivers 2 vehicles. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.